Welcome to Cosmic Channels. I'm your host, Braden. This is your call-in show. I just host it. Listen, you're looking to help Cosmic Channels. We've got a couple goals. We're trying to get that ad campaign going. The best way to support the show is paypal.me/CosmicChannels. Or you can head to our store. Be the first person to buy yourself a Cosmic Channels shirt from the official Cosmic Channels store, or a Yodo sweater, whatever you want. That all goes to help the show, or just even in the super chat. But the lines have already been hot pre-show, and we have a caller on the line, so that takes priority. Let's go to the caller. This is Lane from South Carolina. Lane, how's it going tonight?
It's going good, man. How are you doing?
Man, not too bad. It's nice, little bit of a rush to get Cosmic Channels off the ground, and I didn't get home until 5:45, but I think I have everything down to a science now. So I think I'm getting better and better every week. What do you got for us tonight?
I have something real quick, and then I have a story. I think it was a couple weeks ago. You had a caller that described like the predator camouflage effect outside her window.
Yeah, that was in Victoria, BC. That happened.
Yeah. Well, that's actually like a very common phenomenon, and I forget who coined it, but it's called the Glimmer Man. Like a bunch of different people have seen like the predator glimmer camouflage in different areas. I think there was one in
now that you say
Washington.
Now you say that, I do remember the Glimmer Man. That does ring a bell. I didn't know a lot of it, but yeah. So what do you know about it?
Not much. I've heard a bunch of different theories on what it is and all that, and I've watched Monsters Among Us or listened to it.
Yeah.
So that's where I learned it from.
Derek is a good friend of the show.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of people think it's like government technology they're testing out in the field, and the people who see it aren't supposed to see it.
I thought, you know what? We talked about Glimmer Man and the use of this technology on the Elisa Lam case on my other show, Alien Theorists Theorizing. We talked about that was one of the theories put forth. There was someone there, invisible, that she could see and was interacting with, that the security cameras did not pick up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's very cool and interesting to just hear those stories, and I heard her talk about that, and I was like, oh my god, that's the Glimmer Man.
Now, you mentioned Washington. Are you talking like Washington D.C. side or Washington?
The state.
The state. It's kind of interesting that it's seen there too, because originally there was when we did the Elisa Lam case, and it's been so long and I don't quite remember it all, but there wasn't actually a Canadian company based out of the West Coast, if I remember correctly, that was that's what they were working on, is this basically active camo technology. So now it's kind of interesting that we kind of have these sightings and these issues in the Pacific Northwest, where this technology is being built or tested.
Yeah, and I don't know what they're going to use it for, hopefully for good, but who knows.
Yeah. And you said you had a story as well?
Yes.
Let's get to it.
So back in October, it was actually Friday the 13th of this past October.
Yeah.
Which I find it weird, but anyways, so I had a meeting at work, and the thing about me is I can't drive quite yet.
Yep.
So my mom picked me up from work, and we pulled out of my work, got on to the highway, and not even 2 minutes after pulling onto the highway, two black figures run across the road, and it was at first where my mom slowed down and was like, well, don't hit the dog. Wait, those aren't dogs. And they had pointed ears. They were big, and they had that like cat-like smooth tail, and it was just like it was crazy because these two black cats, like huge black cats, ran across the street right in front of us. And like I've heard of black cats in like Texas, North Carolina, Ohio, those different areas, but I hadn't heard about like these black panthers in South Carolina until I saw those. And like I was talking to one of my coworkers, and his dad saw one and actually got video of it.
Of because like in my head I was like, what time of day was this? Was this night? Because I was like, any chance it was like cougars?
Thing is, from my research, like the only native big cat in South Carolina is a bobcat.
Yeah.
And those are small. The ones I saw were big. Like they're probably about 3 foot from the ground to the shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big cat.
So.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah,
a big
and
cat.
like. Yeah, like so. Like, and I've done research. Like, there used to be eastern pumas, but they went extinct. And even with those aren't. There hasn't been a recorded case of a melanistic cougar.
Yeah.
So, like, it was amazing. It was just like, oh my God, we just saw a cryptid. Not just one, we just saw 2 cryptids run across the road.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's like what kind of, is there any kind of like black cat cryptid, like black puma cryptid? Because I know there's a couple in like the UK and stuff.
Yeah.
But like nothing that I can think of that might be in the air. I'm just trying to do a quick, you know what, people, actually, yeah, it's kind of interesting because like if you look up cryptid sightings in the, like, this is weird, in the cryptid wiki, or just type in like black puma cryptids, there is like different cities that have like these weird like pumas, and they're like, it's a weird thing because they shouldn't exist in the area. And just for example, when I pulled up my area just when I was typing it in, it pops in as Surrey Puma, which is like a really big city in the just outside Vancouver, a huge community where you would never believe that there would be a giant black puma. And there is blurry photos of these things when people saying that, like, is this some sort of black puma or some weird alien big cat? But there's testimony. It's interesting. I've never even thought about this, and now as I'm scrolling down, there's like different cities having these like black puma sightings.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like here, some people don't even realize that that's not supposed to be here, or like, well, they might are like native to here, but that's not proved by science that they're here.
My question is just, and you might not have the answer, and that's fine, but with South Carolina, because I know a lot of places in the States you can have exotic pets as animals. Is your state one of those? Like, could people have pumas that have escaped? You don't got Puma King out there, without.
Yeah, like that's one of the theories, is like these black cats were people's exotic pets, but I'm not certain on South Carolina's exotic pet laws.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you for definitive.
And I just feel like, God damn, if there was a giant puma, like, walking around, like, more people would see it way more often. It's just that's a fascinating one to me. I'm actually astounded by the amount of cities that are like pumas, like giant black cats. I didn't realize that this was as popular as it is.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Like,
now, what are your thoughts? You just
crazy.
think what do you think it is?
I don't know. It's honestly my best guess is it is someone who like, oh, I want this giant black cat as my pet. And then it got out, or they just were like, oh, I can't take care of this, so I'll just release it into the wild.
Yeah.
But my personal headcanon is they've always been here. It's just big cats, like, they're big, yes, but they're also very stealthy. And if they don't want you to see them, you aren't going to see them.
And I'll tell you this, like, from firsthand experience, I live in Vancouver Island, and there is more. This is the most cougars per capita live on Vancouver Island, and I have never seen one ever. And like they say, if you see one, that's because it's basically wanted you to see it, or it's just like not cared.
Yeah.
Whereas like most of the time, they'll like the amount of times if you've gone for a walk in the woods, you've probably cougar's had eyes on you at some point, or it has maybe paced you, and it's just not interested in, you know. Yeah, people in the chat are saying this is some sort of big cat conspiracy. I agree. We need to get to the bottom of this. What the hell is conservation doing about this? We gotta suss out these big cats in populated areas.
Yeah, and like, so many people have like witnessed these that South Carolina DNR put out a statement that said, "Oh nope, you're misidentifying them." Like they're saying like they're melanistic coyotes or just loose dogs, but
I mean,
a lot of the people I know who have seen them, they're hunters. They know coyotes. They know dogs.
And I mean, they're
like
big cats. You know, they have a look. You know what I mean? Like they have a unique look, even if they're in dusk or you can only see like an outline of them. They do not look like a dog.
Yeah.
So it's
like,
someone in the chat is saying.
You asked like what?
Quick Google search says South Carolina has no ban on exotic pets, so you could technically own some pumas, but we would have to wrangle those to see if they have any collars, you know. And I feel like if someone lost their pumas, there'd be like, you know, a little bit more high alert of like, be on the lookout for these fucking giant cats that will murder you for fun. Yeah.
Also, you asked me like what time of day I saw. It was actually the morning. I jotted it down after. It was like 9:32 a.m.
Oh, so there's light. There's light. It's So there's like
there wasn't a chance of just like
mistake.
Oh wait, what was that? Like we had full visibility.
Yeah, you saw black cats. No questions about it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's wild, man. Like quick little search. It's like I'm like the amount of cities that are like, oh, you know, this city Black Panther, this city Black Puma, this city Big Cat. I'm like, that is wild. And you know, like you said, they are quite elusive if they don't want to be seen. So you know, maybe there is a small outlying population of these big cats that we just have no idea are lurking.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, when I saw, I was like, man, I'm like, I wanted my first cryptid to be like Bigfoot or something, but just this was just like, wow. Like,
at least you're seeing one. At least you saw one.
Yeah.
I haven't even got to see one yet. I've only seen a footprint, so count your lucky stars. Lane, thank you so much for calling in and being the first caller. I say it all the time, the first caller is the most important caller, because I actually truly never know if any of this is working until the first person calls. So I really appreciate you calling in and telling your story, and I hope if you know, I saw some people in the chat say that they've had some weird big cat sightings. So if you've seen something out there, I want you to call in. But Lane, have a good one. Take care of yourself.
Will do. Thank you.
Bye. If you've got a weird cryptid cat or anything like that, definitely call in. The lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. And just like that, the lines are back open. So if you've seen anything or had any kind of experience, call like that person just did. Let's go right to the caller. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Chris McCormick, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, what's going on? The heir to the McCormick Candy Banana fortune.
You goddamn know it. I wish I was.
Now, I do believe you actually wrote in a story A long time
A
ago.
long time ago.
So-
long time ago.
Can I? Is that the story you're calling in to tell me about?
Probably.
Okay, cool. And the only
Was it about like on the stairs and whatnot in the
yeah,
shower?
I think so because I actually think this is kind of a funny coincidence. I actually think I have your fan read submission prepped, ready to go for tonight. I actually think it's
shit.
yeah. I actually think, but I got you on. I want to hear it from you. So like this is
Let's do it.
this was meant to be. So what do you got for us tonight? Where are you calling from?
Charlotte, North Carolina, but this story happened in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, you still with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So yeah. So I don't even know where to start, but this shit still pops off in my head like all the time because my girlfriend and I at the time we go and play volleyball on Thursdays from like 5 p.m. to the lights turned out, which would be like 9:15. And we get home like 9:30, 9:45. And you watch all the sand out of your cracks, at that point. And so we got in the shower immediately. And then this is her parents' house in Charleston. They lived in Pennsylvania at the time. So it's a 3-story home. It's like a Charleston home, so it's like long and thin and tall.
Yeah.
Right? So we're in the shower, just, cleaning off, whatnot. And the walls are very thin. Like the first floor bathroom, to put in perspective, like I'm only 6 feet tall, but I take a pee in that toilet, half bath, right?
Yeah.
My head would be touching the ceiling.
Yes.
Small, for tiny people.
Yeah, small bathroom.
And yeah, small bathroom, and then on the front of the house, they have a plaque on it. It's 1867 when the house was built. So nothing, you can do anything to the house without like the city's permission.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's
So-
similar like to like where I live, but like those are called like heritage houses, right? And they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're kind of preserved, so it's like you can't really do anything.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. It's very strict. Yeah, they go through a bunch of channels to get any shit done with these houses. But and like I remember when like she bring that up, like, so like they're getting the floor done in the kitchen, and it's probably not the first time, or was not the first time the floor was done, over 150 years, obviously. But the contractor was pulling it up when we were there, and he's like, "Those boards underneath here are probably here since George Washington was president."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's wild. Man, I'm not a big history buff, but just puts it in perspective, like like you got Civil War going on, slavery, whatnot, so it's wild.
Yeah.
So we're in the shower, cleaning ourselves off, and literally hear like someone with big boots on, like truck down from the 3rd floor to basically the 1st floor. I mean, like you lose the sound,
Yeah.
after a while, but the shower backed up right to the stairs, so like there's not more than a foot of shitty fucking shit done, because it's a 150-year-old house, between your head and the stairs, and so you heard someone running down the stairs to the point where, I looked over to my girlfriend and she's like, "You hear that?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I heard that," and I jump out of the shower, I grab a towel, I'm like, hopefully I don't have to fight some dude naked
Yeah.
in the hallway, it's like, I don't know what's going to go down at that point. And
Yeah, you're definitely spooked at this point.
I run down the stairs and look back up the stairs. I go in every single nook in the house. I don't find anything. All the doors are still locked or whatnot. And it was wild. Like, 'cause I wasn't by myself. Like we were completely sober.
Yeah.
we both heard the same thing. We looked at each other with fear, like, what the fuck was that? And yeah, and this house, like you know when like cats go outside and like you can hear them fighting in the streets or like outside.
Yeah, it's savage.
You know. Yeah. So on the third floor, every once in a while, the cat. And we had dogs too. They're both betas, a golden retriever and a Irish wolfhound, which would like, you know, fight over not eating the food, you know.
Yeah, just all the time.
But the cat, every once in a while, would be on third floor, and you'd hear that gnarling cat noise, like he was fighting somebody, and just rush down from the third floor to the first floor as fast as it could possibly get down. And like, I mean, that's basically my story. That's the whole story.
So, first off, I mean, it's creepy enough that that's any kind of heritage house that's like that old and stuff. Like you're kind of not sure what's going on. You're having ghost footprints and stuff. Like, you know, it's pretty common for like a ghostly experience. Terrifying all the time. But the person who was going to read your story had some questions for you that they're kind of excited now to ask. Yeah. So one of the questions was, do you know who still lives in that house? Like, does the girlfriend's parents still live there?
Yeah, her parents still own the house. Yeah.
Do you know if they experienced anything? Like, do they ever hear anything?
Well, he's a doctor, and she grew up in Germany during like the Nazi war. She didn't talk about all that shit.
Oh, okay. And it's funny
because
when you say doctor,
I didn't ever bring it up to him because they were in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And she was in college. She came on strong. I thought she was like 28. She was 21. I was 36. And we ended up dating for the next 5 years. So I don't talk to him a lot about our relationship. You know.
Yeah, I get you.
That makes any sense?
Now, some follow-up questions. Did your girlfriend at the time hear any sounds growing up? Did she ever tell you anything of that?
No. She didn't grow up in the house. Like,
okay.
She grew up in Pennsylvania, and her parents bought this house in Charleston to be near her.
Okay,
her
so
dad, to be near his brother.
Okay, so she never grew up there. Did you ever hear any kind of story of like any history that had happened in the house, or like what kind of the history was with the house, or just that it's a heritage house kind of thing?
No, there's no spookiness that we ever heard about, or I was never told about. But I mean, like, you know, it's one of these cities that has like ghost tours.
Yeah.
You know, right? But it's not like they come by the house and say, like, talk about this house. This is not a house to talk about, you know.
Yeah. So it's just that one-off experience that stuck with you.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's my experience. Well, I mean, that's not the only thing. I mean, shit would turn on in the house and turn off, and then like the door handles would rattle every once in a while. But I just figured those people trying to break into the house because people would try to steal the bikes off the porch all the time. It's kind of you're gonna chain down your bikes or or lock your dogs in the backyard. You're gonna lose your dog, which is fucked up as, you know.
Yeah, weird.
You can say.
So it's kind of a rough area too.
You're gonna lose a bicycle, you know.
Now, what do you think? What do you think it was? The footprints you heard that day. What are your thoughts on it?
I wouldn't call it footprints, bro. It's foot stomps. Stomps coming down, like somebody's wearing heavy boots.
Yeah.
Like, I used to wear heavy boots when I worked in EMS, like your boy Andrew, and those are heavy boots, and these are heavier than that. And you heard them from the third floor, like not so light, and then heavy, and then like going away, and it's like, who the fuck is in the house? Nobody's in the house. Nobody can be in the house. What is happening? You know?
Yeah.
So like I mean, I'm calling you guys because I don't have an answer to it.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I've experienced like ghost steps and like the phantom steps and stuff. So like that would be my guess, especially with the history, like how old that house is that I would kind of, you know, and even people in the chat are saying like, you know, old Civil War boots, right? You're saying it's around that, it built
Exactly.
before that, so maybe that
Exactly.
maybe that house has some history, and what we're seeing here is just ghosts going about their day from that time in that house, right? And you know, they're just kind of stuck in a
They still
loop.
pull bullets in the backyard.
Yeah.
Like from the Civil War.
So right,
Yeah.
so maybe
Wow.
people died there, maybe soldiers died there, spent time in that house, and so like that would kind of make sense. That would, you know, it's around that time, and you're saying these are heavy boots, so maybe it's like a soldier's footprints.
The one thing
or
is,
footsteps.
like, upstairs, the third floor had 2 bedrooms, right?
Yeah.
Those bedrooms, you could tell, were not always there. There was something else. Like
they were put in after the fact.
Like an attic, like a
okay.
crazy attic where they kept people. I don't know.
Oh, maybe it was some sort of, you know, house on like the, you know, where they hid people moving up to what was the secret railroad or something like that. Maybe they're like, it'd be interesting to kind of find out the history of that house. Now I'm not going to ask you the address or anything there because we'll respect the privacy of the current homeowners, but interesting stuff, man. Thank you,
Yeah, dude.
Chris. Thanks so much for calling in with that.
Yeah, brother.
All right,
My pleasure.
Take
care.
care.
To you guys in 2016.
Oh, right on. That's early days, baby.
What the fuck is a pyramid? It's my first episode, which I don't think you bring back up.
No, well, we've never figured out what the fuck they are. So, before you go here, right? I got a little question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
Gwyneth Paltrow's head? No, unfortunately, that is not what is in the box. But to be honest, I will divulge this. I did seriously consider getting, like, you can buy Gwyneth Paltrow like mask heads, and I did consider putting that in the box. So it's close. I mean,
awesome.
You're close because that thought did come through my head. So maybe you're up there. You're just in the wrong corner. But thank you so much, Chris, for calling in.
All right, thanks, brother.
Take care of yourself. Awesome little Civil War phantom steps. It is as someone, I've experienced them. It is terrifying. It's terrifying when that kind of stuff happens, and you know there's no explanation for it, and you're just kind of left wondering, like, what is that? And I had those experiences in basically a brand new house, so I always kind of wondered if it was the land that the house was built on, was, you know, maybe it was unceded indigenous land that was maybe taken or something, but I never felt the, you know, any kind of danger. It was just more creepy. But we got a caller on the line. Let's go right to the call. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Tara, and from Virginia.
Tara?
Yeah.
How's it going tonight, Tara?
What's up? I've been listening for years to you guys.
Right on.
I did definitely get to call in.
What do you got for us tonight?
All right, so I'm gonna let you pick. So I've got a cliff ghost story or an I guess UFO story. So one of those two, unless you want a dream story.
Let's go UFO.
UFO, okay. So I was in high school, and I was hanging out with one of my best friends. I just got out of cross-country practice. He picked me up, and we were just riding around, and I live literally in the middle of nowhere. So that's what we do. And, I mean, it wasn't too out of the ordinary for us to see weird stuff in my town, but this definitely topped it. So we ended up going down to, like, this creek side, and we just, like, parked, and we're just sitting there talking. I think we were, like, in some kind of deep conversation, and I was like, dude, do you see that? He was like, that light? And I was like, yeah, I've been, like, staring at it for, like, a minute, and it was pretty far. And as we're sitting there talking about it, it moved. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's a plane. Not a plane because it moves up and down, and then it sits there for a minute, and then it splits into two more lights. And it's just kind of dangling there in like a triangle shape for a minute, like the way that the lights kind of line up looks like a triangle. And so we're just like, what the fuck? You know, we look at each other, I'm like, is this real? Like, let's get a phone out and like take a picture, which we had flip phones at the time, but you know, we're kind of like puzzled like as to what we're seeing. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. So they all start like moving. It's like the more we talk about it, it's like the more it moves around. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, like let's try to get this. And by the time we get a phone out, it's gone.
Did they just fade away, or did you see them move, or the lights just go out?
They were just gone by the time that like we're like, you know, shuffling around trying to get a phone to take a picture. Like it was just gone. I can't even explain it.
What color? Do you remember what color the lights were?
Yeah, so they changed. So they started out kind of like not yellow, but like I guess like an LED kind of looking light, and then they went from that to blue, and then they just stayed out of blue.
And did the lights? So you said there was kind of one at first.
Yeah.
Did it change color first and then spread out into a triangle shape?
Honestly, I don't remember that part of it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Just because I mean, I have seen some weird lights, like out of like Mesa, Arizona, and a couple like Phoenix, and there's a couple like out in the desert where it's like an orange light a lot of the times, where they'll kind of you'll see an orange light appear in the sky, and then it'll trail, and then split, and then kind of make a triangle formation. But then the lights will like seemingly drift apart, and then they'll just kind of go out separately. Really weird.
Yeah.
Really weird kind of look. But does that kind of kind of sound similar to what you saw?
A little bit, yeah. Only it wasn't a yellow light. It was definitely more like a cool tone, like white light, I guess, at first.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of was sitting there thinking, like, damn, that's a like really bright star. And then I don't know, just something seemed off about it. And then we started talking about it, and weird shit started happening with it. And this is completely sober and all that. Like, I was a little prude in school, so like definitely wasn't drinking and all that. We were just sitting there having a conversation and just saw a weird phenomenon, I guess.
That's so strange. Do you know what year or what? Like you said, flip phone, so early 2000s?
It would have been like probably 2011.
Okay, and you said like when you kind of were like conscious of it, that's kind of when these lights kind of moved?
Yeah. We've talked about that too, like me and my buddy. I'm like, it's just weird. It's like it had an intelligence to it, where it knew that like we saw it. Like I don't know how else to explain that, but it's like it knew, like it's like we acknowledged each other in a weird way, and that's why like it kept doing weird shit.
Well, I mean,
and this went on for a while. Like this was like, I mean, a solid probably 3 minutes.
And that's not uncommon. Like a lot of people who see these things will be like, they're like, you know, it sounds crazy, but like I feel like it was reacting to my like viewing of it.
Yeah,
it's not an uncommon thing at all to experience when seeing a UFO.
Yeah.
Now, so what do you think you saw that night? What is your like, you know, with your friend? What did you talk about? What did you think it was?
I mean, up until that point, I kind of was skeptic of like UFOs, aliens, all that. Even though the movie Signs terrified the shit out of me as a kid.
Did everyone? Horrifying.
Yeah. But it definitely made me a believer. And then now, of course, you know, years later, and then saying that, you know, UFOs are real, I'm like, well, I think that's what I saw, you know.
Yeah, it kind of vindicates that sighting for you, and you're like, you know, maybe it's not that wild of me to think that that's what I saw.
Yeah, I think it validated a few things for me. So, yeah.
Now, this is totally up to you. You can tell it now, or you can save it for another week, but do you want to tell your ghost story as well?
Yeah, I will.
All right, let's do it.
So, about the same year, me and a girlfriend, she got a Ouija board, and I grew up like in a very Christian home. I'm still a Christian, so like I can still say that and believe all this stuff too. I'll just throw that out there. But I grew up in a Christian home, and my family would have been like so upset to know I got in with a girl who had a Ouija board. But she decided to acquire this thing because where I live, there's like this massive cliff, and people would go up there and like smoke weed and like climb half of it. And this is really dumb, but there was a railroad track below it, and people would try to take baseball bats and like throw it on the tracks, like real stupid.
Oh yeah, you're like, I'm gonna derail this thing. I was a kid once.
Yeah, it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
But great view up there. Like my mom actually lives on the whole opposite end of it, so like it's in walking distance from her house. But anyway, so there was this like, I don't even know, like story that got passed around for a long time around people, and that there was a penny man up there. That's what they called him. They said that if you go up there alone or like in a small group, if you're just hanging out, like all of a sudden you'll feel something burning on you, and you'll look down and there's a penny that's like burning your skin. I was like, there's no fucking way. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. So of course we have to find out if it's true.
Yeah.
So we get a Ouija board, as one does. We get a Ouija board and a candle, and like she's like, you know, researched all this stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, let's go. So it's about half a mile walk down to this cliff from like where I had to park, and it's basically in a really nice neighborhood at the golf course. And what is that called? Like a little circle, like a little, is that like a cul-de-sac or whatever? That's kind of what it was. And so we parked my car there, walked down with this Ouija board, and we're sitting on the cliff, and we start asking it questions and doing all of this shit, and it starts moving. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I know I'm not moving it, because I'm like not really even like fully on the little thing. And she was like, dude, I'm not moving it. And I was like, do you think if we took our hands off and like talked to it and move on its own, she's like, you're not supposed to do that or whatever. And I didn't know the rules. And I was like, what if you just do it? Like, I want to see like if it still moves and vice versa. And so like by the time she goes to take her hands off, I'm taking mine off. It starts moving on its own, and it like just darts all the way across off the board. And about that time we hear growls, and I'm like, it's like, I mean, it was in the summer, I feel like, and I mean the sun was still up, all that, like shouldn't be any wild animals out there. So we heard all these growls, and I start freaking shit. So I'm like, let's go. By the time we packed everything up and started like walking, I mean, it sounded like something was on our heels and growling at us, like coming to attack us, like a pack of wolves. And I'm not even joking. So we start sprinting to my car, and like we were sweating. We get in the car, slam the door, and like we're booking it. And I'm like, holy shit, that was like a lot. So then this story really carries over, because that night after we did all this, they're like, dude, should we tell anyone like that this just happened to us? And we go to this little, not a party, but like a little shindig, and we're sitting by a fire, and I'm like telling everybody what happened. And about that time, I like pass out, and I had just like cracked open a beer. Like I was not drunk yet. Like, I wasn't really like, I mean, I just said a minute ago, I'm kind of prude. So at that time I was like kind of there socially. So like I might drink a beer, you know what I mean? So like wasn't a drunk person. So I'm sitting there kind of sipping and telling the story, and I like black out. And the next thing I know, I wake up in the road with my friends praying over top of me. And no idea, but don't play with the Ouija board is all I know. It's weird.
So later that night you just blacked out for no reason?
Yeah, they just said I was like talking about it and like passed out.
So hold on, you blacked out while recanting the story of being in the woods playing with the Ouija?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Now, because I'm like, first off, it's so weird. Because I'm like, you know, to sound like you have a pack of wolves growling, I'm like, I mean, that's not really what wolves do. So it's so weird to have that kind of like constant growl after you.
Yeah, it was like very aggressive. Like, I don't even know. I just know that it was very aggressive noise. And it was like, it started out as just like a one growl, and then it ended up being like a bunch of growls.
Oh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Now, is there any ways like, now I want to ask some follow-up questions here. So you
Yeah,
black
go
out
ahead.
later, and I mean, is there a possibility? And this is just this. I always try to look at things from a skeptical side and look at it from both sides. Is there any chance that just even from recounting the first experience, how harrowing and terrifying it is, that you could you have blacked out from, like, were you that worked up? Do you remember like recounting the story and
No.
kind of being anxious, or is it really just lights out?
It really was just like that. Like I was just like talking about it, and yeah, like I felt like I was calm. I was actually kind of like laughing about like what happened. Like I think I was in shock, but like I guess I was just kind of like laughing about it. Like that's some wild shit that happened to us.
Did
I
you
wasn't really scared
close?
at the
Did you
moment, but, like I was recounting it. So.
did you bring the did you pack up the Ouija, or did you leave it behind?
She packed it up, so it was
Okay.
hers. Like she took
Yeah.
it home with her.
Now,
I
did
had
you
no time.
did you close the session at the end?
Nope.
So maybe because I mean the people that really like that really practice it and like are like swear by and stuff. They say like
Yeah.
we've had people detail like the proper steps you're supposed to take, and the emphasis on like make sure to close the session is always very made very important. We've been told all the different types of candles you should have and all this other stuff just in
Yeah.
case of stuff you should have if you're really trying to do this thing as precautions. Did you have any other experiences after that of like maybe something followed you?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So, like, after all of that, I did feel like something dark followed me, and honestly, like, from that point, like I said, I was probably like junior or senior in high school at the time. For a couple of years, honestly, like it felt like something was with me, and so just had to kind of get rid of that, which is a whole nother ordeal. But yeah, so don't play with Ouija boards.
Yeah.
Unless I guess you know what you're doing, but I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing with one of those.
Oh my God. So hold on. So you, from this experience, you black out and you have basically a dark point in your life where you feel that there's a dark presence. And are you telling me that you have another story about having to do something to get rid of this?
Yeah, dude, I have a lot of stories.
Oh my God. Okay, Tara, this story gave me such chills that I would love for you to call me back on another one, and we'll do a part 2 for, so I can spread out these excellent stories, because I want to know now how you got rid of this thing and how that built up to it.
I'll say one thing, prayer. Like, honestly, ultimately at the end of it all, like, literally, like, finding Jesus and praying about it. That's the only thing. And, like, for couple years now, I haven't had any issues, so.
Do you think if you stopped, do you think that, like, so, are you still doing like preventative prayers from this experience?
No, I don't feel any darkness around me.
I just was like, in my heart of hearts, I was like, oh my God, are you like keeping it at bay right now? Like, I'm like, okay, so like,
no, that would be so terrifying.
Yeah. So it's like I'm like, you're gonna have to call back in, because I want a part 2 of how you got rid of this thing, and we can spend some time going through exactly what you did and how it led up to.
Yeah, that is a wild story. But I will call back at some point and do that.
Thank you so much for calling in with that, Tara. That is incredible, and I can't wait for you to call back in. So don't call back next week.
All right, I will.
All right, take care of yourself.
All right, bye.
Woo! That one gave me constant shivers. I loved it, but also hate it. I mean, you always hear these accounts of people, having these terrifying Ouija experiences, and then just to hear one where they have something, that builds and builds and builds. But we got another caller on the line. They take priority. Let's go to a call. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Braden. This is John Jacoby from Ohio.
What's going on?
Hey, I got a quick story. Since my buddy couldn't call in, I'll tell a little story that he told me about.
All right, let's hear it.
So in front of there's a auto place called Southern Ohio Truck and Auto. It's on Route 50 by Chillicothe,
Yeah.
Ohio. And back in the day, they actually tore down several Indian mounds along that strip, and they were toppled and desecrated by early land developers. And they paved the road with just pea gravel at the time. And there was back in the 1950s, there was two cars that were racing down the road, and they right along where the mounds were, they got into a wreck, and both people died. And there have been several deaths in that area. And back in the 1800s, there was a lot of territory fights that took place on the land with train hoppers and merchants, which, like I said, he when he calls in, you know, he can tell you a lot more, but he has amazing stories to tell you. But I thought that was a pretty cool story.
So and then so like people like crash there,
Yeah, there's been like several deaths in the area.
and just like from just like happenstance, like just bad luck.
I guess, you know, that they desecrated that whole area where there was a bunch of mounds, you know, that's
And
bad luck, you know what I mean?
and to be honest, I'm a dude. Some of the indigenous sites around North America, like I know they're protected and they should be, but they're so fascinating to me because like there are mounds that are like, you know, look like they're, you know, the start of a pyramid structure, and I'm like, oh man, like I wish, you know, we could, you know, look at some of these things and like, are they similar to other, you know, cultures, indigenous, you know, pyramid workings and stuff? Like, is there similarities? Because there's a surprisingly a lot of like mounds around, and I, you know, I can't even imagine how many like indigenous areas got desecrated and, you know, are caused for this kind of bad luck. But it's interesting that, you know, they do this to one and it causes all these, you know, almost like bad karma right in the area.
Yeah, exactly. And I live about like 45 minutes from Serpent Mound. You know what Serpent Mound
Yeah,
is, I'm
yeah.
assuming. So when I
Mind-blowing.
went there, if you go down, there's like a cliff on the like on the edge of it. It like drops way down, and on that cliff, I went up and I found this rock area. It was like black rock, but I took my pocket knife and just dug it out. It was almost like a kind of a soft, weird black rock. I don't even know what kind of material it was, but it was like part of the land. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I've never seen any kind of stone that was like that in my life.
And it was
except
like
for that area.
malleable, like you could kind of move it. And
You couldn't like bend it or anything, but I pulled it out with my knife, and like, you know, it was like soft enough where I could like, you know, chunk it out, but it was hard where you can't bend it, you know what I mean? It was a really weird material.
That's interesting. Right around, you know, Serpent Mound. It's. I would love to learn more. I would like to do a deep dive in Serpent Mound and stuff, because I'm like, you know, when you see these kind of like etching and, you know, things in the land, it just reminds me of like Machu Picchu, and I'm like, then it makes me think, were these cultures, you know, loosely connected? Did they have trade? You know, is there those similarities because they, you know, they did communicate somehow? Like, we're on the same landmass, so it's you would, you know, maybe these, you know, these stories pass through these cultures, but it's too bad. It's too bad we don't have, you know, didn't have the written history back then, or the, you know, everyone got decimated by settlers at the time, and not a lot of care for preserving the history, I don't think.
Yeah. But all right, well, my girl just brought me dinner, so I'm gonna hop over.
Hey, thank you for the call. Take care of yourself.
Hey,
Enjoy
in
your
the
dinner.
box though, it's a T-shirt. Just saying.
Yeah, no T-shirt. Let me check. I'll go to the box. What's in the box? No T-shirt. I forgot to let Tara guess the box. All right, she'll get 2 guesses next week. Thank you, John, for calling in.
Yeah, I'll see.
All right, ciao. That's interesting. I mean, you hear, you know, that old adage, ancient indigenous burial ground. But, you know, some of these sites have, you know, power, and if they're desecrated, maybe there is spirits. I mean, the Skinwalker Ranch, they talk about like a shaman that wanders around there. It's kind of interesting. If you have kind of local legend like that, or you believe in that kind of stuff in your area, and you have these sites, call in. I want to know. But just like that, the lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. The lines have been just absolutely on fire tonight. I haven't got a chance to thank anyone. Got some interesting news, though, because we got another nice donation from Bandito, which actually bumps her into the #1 supporter spot. And joining that list is Mr. Chango himself, who's going to now bounces into the 3rd place in the biggest supporters of Cosmic Channels. So thank you guys so much for supporting the show, and continue to support the show. Everything I get and raise, I just put right back into it to try to grow this show. And we've seen really, really good growth these last couple of weeks. But we will talk about that in the shareholders meeting immediately following Cosmic Channels. But we got time for, maybe 2 more calls. So if you want to get your call in, I'm going to send it to a fan read submission. Now, originally it was supposed to be Bandito's tonight, and she was reading actually Chris McCormick's story. So Bandito, I will send you a new story if you still want to read one. I'm not going to reuse that one because we did get Chris to call in. So, that's a bonus. But I'm going to send you to a fan read submission. The lines are open. I will take one more call after the fan read submission, but let's go to that person right now. I think they may even be in the chat.
Hello, Theorites. My name is Krista, also known as AstroCat. I am super excited to be reading today's Cosmic Channel submission about skinwalkers. This is a super creepy story that is sure to leave you with goosebumps. So, without further ado, let's get into this submission from Nicole. Nicole says, "Hey, Cosmic Channels. I was listening to you talk about Skinwalker Ranch, and it reminded me that I never told you my Skinwalker story. I called in to mention the UFO sighting, but got so nervous about talking about it, I spaced the really juicy story. So, here it goes. In 2012, southern Utah, in a recreational area well known to locals, rumor has it it's an old Native American burial grounds. However, I've never been able to find any facts on this. I'm getting goosebumps and shakes just trying to write this. Let me set up the location. Dirt. Quite a few rock mounds / small cinder cones of lava rock, juniper and cedar trees placed sporadically. This location has large boulders to the south of us and a small decline to the north, just dirt and bushes, and trees to the east and west. My friends and I have been coming to this location for about 4 years almost every weekend just to chill, have a beer or 10, and light a fire. No one knows how to get to this specific location other than us, and we've made sure of it. So, we're having a good night, myself, my best friends Kay and T, and T's girlfriend M. We were dry and sober that night. I remember talking about how bright it was because of the full moon. A couple of hours go past, I'm assuming it was right around midnight now, and we hear drums. Spooky, but nothing too loud or out of the ordinary. I've heard about Wiccans doing their full moon rituals out here before, but I've never really heard anything or seen anything. So we just laughed it off because the drums weren't anywhere near us. However, around that time, I can hear rustling behind me, something walking through the trees to my left, over the rocks behind me, and to my right. This pacing went on for probably 30 minutes before I mentioned anything to Kay. He said he's been listening too and definitely thinks there's a couple of coyotes watching us because we may be close to where they bed down / den. No big deal again. As a coyote hunter, I know they're more afraid of me than I am of them, but I still chambered around in my sidearm and kept my holster unbuckled. T is getting a bit spooked, not 100% sure why. He kept avoiding the question and asked if we could pack up and head out. We all obliged, and he went to grab the shovel out of the back of the truck. Upon reaching the truck, he yells, "Kay, Nicole, get your fucking asses over here." So we trot over, and he's wide-eyed, mouth open, spooked. Did you see that? Do you see the eyes? Kay said no, but I definitely did. These eyes were not blue or green like deer or yellow like coyotes. They were red. I yelled, "M! Get in the truck now," which she did. Kay grabbed the shovel and put out the fire. I shoved T in the passenger seat and I hopped in the back. From this point on in the story, I have no recollection. I blacked out. The only bit I remember of this night from this point on are those eyes, the two large red eyes that I stared into. This thing was taller than me. I'm 5'5", so that's not too hard. But remember the slope I mentioned earlier? It was standing where the slope leveled out below, meaning it was at least 3 to 4 feet taller than me. This is what I've been told. Okay, so back in the truck. Apparently Kay was flying through the back roads trying to get out of this place. Finally gets to the main road and hauls ass to get to T's house. Meanwhile, I'm still holding onto my pistol, comatose and shivering. I guess they asked me all sorts of questions and I never responded. Em is freaked because she's sitting right next to me and wants to be taken home. They do. And Kay heads straight to T's house, but we have to drive by a church to get there. And whilst passing the church, apparently I growled? Parked in T's driveway, they continued asking me question after question. I responded to nothing. Eyes straight ahead, no emotion. Kay is flipping out and calls his mom because she's a Wiccan. And he wondered if the ritual that night had anything to do with my blacking out. She said to perform something, I can't remember the name, and he did. Nothing. But I was shivering again, so they took me inside, and he performed something else. I snapped too. I remember him touching my hands and my forehead, and I was like, what the fuck? Where am I? And I immediately started bawling, like sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe, and I have no clue why. I'm not a person that cries, especially for no reason. Kay was hugging me, and I watched T turn bright red. His fists were balled, and he backed himself into a corner. I said, T, what's wrong? You okay? And Kay ran to him and once again touched his forehead and abdomen. And I believe he said something too. After Kay grabbed his hand, T went ghost white and sat on the floor crying. So I went over and hugged him. We three just sat there so confused as to what happened. We all three ended up falling asleep shortly after. I got up early for work and went out to my car, but on T's truck, the one we were in the night before, was a crow. Wings wide open, mouth wide open, but dead. I called the boys up and we all decided it was probably a coincidence. R.I.P. bird, you know? I go to work and there's 5 to 7 crows hanging around the parking lot near my car. Not too weird, but pretty rare to see that, especially so many. You guys know that a group of crows is called a murder of crows. Fun fact. I get a call from T that I need to meet him immediately after work at his mom's house. I head over and see my friend and his mom sitting in a circle almost like this was an intervention. He tells me he told his mom what happened. His mother is Native American, and she knows what happened to me. Okay. So she explains that I was essentially possessed by a skinwalker. They are a nasty, evil medicine man of sorts who have to make a sacrifice, usually their wife or child, to an evil deity, and they can become immortal. They also gain the ability to shapeshift into animals, usually small wildlife. The Wiccan, I could be wrong, it may not have been a Wiccan ritual, but that's the only thing I can allow myself to believe. Drums may have made him curious and he was out to play. I was shocked. I had no words. His mother wanted me to get blessed, and this being Utah, a Mormon bishop, it was. So we went to his house and he said he shouldn't be doing this, but will. What? Okay, fine. I get blessed. Nothing cool happens there, but I go into work the next day and my boss, a local Native American, says, whoa, you okay? You look like hell. So I told him a little bit about the night I left out that being possessed part, and he goes, you need to come over as soon as you can. So after work, I went to his house and he properly blessed me. He saved me, my car, T's truck, and T's house. Nothing has happened since, except every now and again, there will be a black feather on my car or on my doorstep. I could just be overdramatic about those coincidences, but it's really hard not to make note of them now. I still can't tell this story out loud without being overridden with anxiety. I refuse to tell it on dirt roads or at night. I have no clue why. I just can't muster the courage. So thanks for reading. I know it was a long one, Nicole. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that crazy story. And for anyone else out there who doesn't feel comfortable calling in and telling their story live on Cosmic Channels, you can always write in your story to CosmicChannelsPodcast@gmail.com. And you never know who might end up reading it. And I want to thank you all so much for having me on today and to listen to me tell Nicole's awesome, amazing, crazy story. Again, I'm AstroCat, and you can find me on all platforms at AstroCat Gaming. I hope you guys have a great one. Bye.
And if you listen, thank you so much to Astro Cat Gaming for reading in a fan submission. Make sure to go check her out, Astro Cat Gaming, on everywhere there, Kick, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, wherever you find it. Show her some love for reading in that fan submission. And if call-in's not your thing, you're one of those people that gets a little nervous, you get the anxiety, you can always write your story in to CosmicChannelsPodcast@gmail.com. And you never know who's going to read it. Could be me, could be someone else, could be anyone. But we got the last caller on the line. We've got Chris from LA. Chris, how's it going tonight?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Thanks for calling in. Really appreciate it. What do you got for us tonight?
So I just want to tell you about a paranormal encounter I had with, I don't know if it was a ghost or some type of entity. And you're the right person to be hearing this story, because one of the things you said when you were telling a ghost story was exactly the same type of thing I experienced that day, which kind of tripped me out. So basically I was around, I want to say 11 years old, and I was sitting in the corner of my living room. Now imagine you're sitting in the right corner, and directly ahead of you there's a dining table tucked into the corner. So it was just kind of like an L shape. Then there's a hallway directly ahead of that with a door partitioning it, and then a bedroom on the left and on the right. So I was sitting in the corner just kind of spaced out watching my parents argue, and then one of them was standing right by a curtain that was at the foot of the table. And the way the curtain was moving, it was kind of weird to me, because it didn't look like the curtain was moving because of the wind, because there's kind of a difference. You would have seen the whole thing kind of flowing a little bit.
Yeah.
It looked like it was sliding over from just the bottom of it. And I kind of saw this out of the corner of my eye, but when I saw that, I wasn't looking directly at it, at this thing. But what I saw was it was like a weird kind of shadow about the size of, I want to say, a medium-sized dog, just kind of floating, bro. And I swear I've seen this, and I've never seen anything like this since. So I'm looking at this out of the corner of my eye, and I'm just thinking yo, what the fuck is that, right? So I'm looking at it, and then I start looking directly at it. And when I looked directly at it, it was I saw a red flag in my head. I was like, either you shouldn't be looking at this, or this thing doesn't want to be seen by you. But when I started looking at this thing, it crept around my stepdad, who's at the foot of the table, and went over to the left side of the table and crept behind where my mom was at. And it just kind of materialized upwards into the shape of a person. It was really weird, man. It was formless at first, and I looked at it. It looked like a wisp. You couldn't see through it. It was a black shadow. But when it materialized up, it was still a black shadow, but it was in the shape of a person. And it stuck its left arm out over the table, and it swiped over the table, and all you heard was a big gust of wind. It was and there was an envelope on the table that flew onto the floor. This painting that was on the wall fell off onto the table. We had a Bible that slipped over onto the table. And after it did that arm motion, it collapsed down, straight down, back into that first shadow shape I was looking at it as. And it zipped perfectly and made kind of a zigzag. So it went straight to the middle of the kitchen. Then it darted straight into that hallway I was referring to earlier, and it took a left into their bedroom. But when it did that, I was looking at it so clearly, it kind of looked how would I describe it? Just imagine a really a black cloth just kind of floating that direction. But it zipped really quickly. And when that happened, when it zipped through that hallway, because there was a door there, it was kind of a ghetto apartment, so the doors never really closed right, and they would always hit the frame of the door. So when that like middle hallway door flipped, it hit the frame really hard, so it banged that. And then there was another door to my parents' room, and it banged that as well. And it was just crazy. So, as a kid, I like got up and I was to my parents. I just went, "Yo, did you guys see that?" And then they were like, "No, what would you see?" And then I described to them what I just described to you. And my mom's like really religious, so all she did was tell me to pray. But I was really just confused because it was kind of impossible. I was trying to like really think about what it could have been, and I couldn't come up with anything. So I even went out to my backyard, which is kind of where it came from. I did that finger trick to see if there was any wind, but it was in California. There's not really any wind like that in the summertime, like really nothing. There was no wind that day, so I don't know what that was. And I've only ever seen something like that one time, and I've never seen anything like that since.
I mean, yeah.
And it was. What were you
listen,
saying?
You did call the right person, because I've told that story before. I saw something when I was younger. I don't know what it was. I was not asleep. I was not going to sleep. And similar to your story, like wide awake. There was no sleep. There was no nap happening.
Yeah.
And something opened my door, and I thought it was a family member because I could see the silhouette. And they shut the door, and I was confused. And then the door opened back up, and I was like, "Dad, my Scott, is that you, my brother?" And then the door shut again. Door opened, and then we had really tall doors, so I saw. It wasn't even me who saw it. This is the weirdest thing. So when you say like you got that red flag in your brain, I didn't really notice anything. My inner voice, which I know a lot of people have different inner voices and how it works. I'm in complete control of my inner monologue. Like, I know some people's inner monologue is kind of different, and everyone's kind of inner monologue is different, but I'm in complete control of my inner monologue at all times. It's like my inner monologue is my conscious thought. I have control of it. And it was like someone else was screaming at me, "Look how big that thing is. That's not anyone in your family. That's too tall. Like, danger, danger." And the fear, even when you recount your story about the red flags, the fear that I feel when I think about that thing, whatever it was, and the feeling I had, almost like, honestly, dude, almost brings me to tears of how scared I was. And then this thing just shut the door, and like, so like, I don't know. I don't know what that thing was. And it sounds very similar to what the experience you had. And I don't know if it's just, every so often, maybe as kids, because I to be honest, I've never ever seen it again, or had an experience like that ever again. And it's just one of those things where I wonder if there's just things we're not meant to see and we're not supposed to, but every so often we just, people are lucky enough to, catch a glimpse of that. As for what it is, I don't know. It does sound similar to what I've experienced. I have no idea. People say shadow people and stuff, but I'm like, those stories are reserved for, sleep paralysis and stuff like that. And like, I'm very adamant. Like, I've never experienced sleep paralysis. I was not sleeping. I was not going to bed yet. I was in bed. I was not going to bed.
And so here's the thing. I have they can corroborate, because that was such an event in my life that I couldn't explain, where every year, I want to say, I've had them corroborate every single part of that story minus what I saw, because they didn't see it. And that was, the same thing that they said at the time. They just didn't see anything but that gust of wind and the door shutting like that. They were arguing, like they were getting into it. But when that happened, they stopped arguing, because it was just like a huge gust of wind. Like it would have caught anybody's attention, because it just slammed every door. So they still corroborate to this day every single detail minus what I saw. And that's why it's the one thing, because I see somebody else is saying, "Did you see anything else in that apartment?" I come from kind of like a superstitious family. I try to think outside of that, because I have all sorts of family stories like that. But as far as being personal to me, that's like the one where I just can't explain it. That's 100% what I saw. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in phantoms. But if I were to try to like rationally explain what I saw, I can't, because it wasn't sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis wouldn't cause that gust of wind. Like,
Okay.
I would have had to have been seeing into the future for that to play out like that in a sleep paralysis moment.
Someone's asking, Bandito's asking in the chat, how long did this event take? Seconds, minutes, in your best estimate?
It was like around 1 minute long. Like from the time I saw it moving that curtain a little bit to it like kind of collapsing and turning, it zigzag, bro. It was crazy. Like it moved in really straight movements too. I'll never forget, because when it went up, swiped its arm down, it collapsed down into kind of like just like this. It looked like a blob, bro, and then it zipped left, zipped straight, and then zipped left again. It was like, it was really precise.
Okay,
the way it moved.
I'm gonna tell you, because I've told that story numerous times to numerous people, you know, and I tell that story in hopes that someone like you calls and is like, okay, I've also had that. One person I've talked to like one other person that was like my story. They were like, okay, I've experienced this, and this is not gonna bring you any any peace or anything. But what they told me they think it was, based on their experience, is that you caught a glimpse of death. And I was like,
that's like one of those things I was thinking too.
Right?
But another thing I thought about too was that when I was looking at it, maybe it was because there were two other people in the room. I don't remember ever feeling scared. I just remember that when it was kind of like tunnel vision, everything else got blurry, but I was looking at this thing and that was the only clear thing in what I was seeing.
Yeah,
but I didn't feel scared. I felt like they were arguing so bad that whatever happened stopped that argument. So I didn't say it was a bad thing. I said it was kind of like one of these neutral things. I was like, maybe it was a good thing.
It's like, I got you.
Happened.
It's like, I got you. Let me sort this out for you. It's weird, dude. It's a really weird experience, and I'm so happy. I finally got a call that had a similar experience to mine. It makes me, there's definitely got to be more of us out there that have experienced this, because that really happened to me, and this has really happened to you. So there's got to be more of us out there who've experienced whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah, I mean, I have all sorts of weird family stories. I come from a really superstitious family. Like that house, I don't live there anymore. That was the apartment I grew up in. I'm like states away at this point, but anytime I'm back in that house, I don't know if it's due to trauma or something, I never feel easy. I never get an easy night's sleep.
I'm the exact same way. When I go back to my parents' house there, it's like the whole time I'm on edge. I'm like, okay, am I going to hear footprints? And to be honest, it weighs on me sometimes that I'm like, I don't want to see that thing again. Like, I don't want to have another, like, it does. In the back of my head, I like think about it. I'm like, I don't want to see it again. Like,
Well, do you still clearly like picture what it is you saw in your head? Because I do. I mean, clear as day. Like, I can still see it.
I saw, like, because like when my door cracked open, my door didn't open fully, it just cracked open, right? So just like if you're imagining like just a face like peering through, like a small crack in the door, and there's a across the family room, I can see, when I was sitting on my bed and my door cracked open, I could see across the family room, up the stairs, and at the very top of the stairs, like way up on the second floor, there's a light that my parents would leave on in case anyone had to use the stairs at night. So that light was illuminating this object that I couldn't see. So it was just black. It was absolutely just black.
You couldn't see through it.
I couldn't see through it or anything. So I had thought it was a person, but as for
did it have a solid edge around it too? Because that's one of those things I noticed.
I couldn't honestly. I could not tell, because I could just see the crack. The door was only cracked open so much, right, that it filled that crack. But I couldn't tell. Like, I couldn't discern any like if it was fat, if it was wide, if it was really skinny, because I could just see it through the crack. All I know is it was closer to probably 7 feet tall, like close to that. Like that's what it stood at the door. Like we have really, really tall doors, and it stood almost at the top. When the door was open, it was almost like it wouldn't have been able just maybe come through the door. So that's all I know.
Are you like me where you don't believe in that stuff? I don't know if I do that as a defense mechanism. I mean, I saw 100% what I saw, but I don't believe in that stuff personally.
To be honest, I don't even think at that age I paid that stuff any mind. Like I have no recollection of before that being interested in this stuff. To be honest, I was just like when I was a kid, I hated scary movies. I didn't like being scared. I didn't like any scary video games, like that kind of shit freaked me out. I didn't like it, but I was never like a believer or not believer. I honestly don't have no recollection of paying that stuff like really any mind until we started, having ghost footprints and stuff in that house. Like I don't remember being younger and being into that stuff in different places I lived. So yeah,
I had one other major experience in that place. I know you guys call it what do you call it, dream warriors or something like that, where if it was waking up from a dream, then it's just kind of like dismissed a little bit.
Hey Chris, I need you to save it for another week, Cosmic Channels. I got one other person that's really trying to get on the line before I shut her down tonight. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing that. Feel free to call in again, and we'll get into the, I don't mind taking a dream a night. So if you call next week, we'll hear you out.
All right, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for sharing. Take care.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Oh, do not like whatever I saw when I was a kid. Still haunts me. I can still vividly picture it. Still terrifies me to this day, and I'm a grown man. I know we got one other call that I said I would leave the line open for, so the line's open. I'm going to give you a minute here to dial in, Sebastian. And then we'll close it down for tonight. But I want that one last call. So where are you? Don't chicken out on me now. Here we go. Let's go. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm Sebastian.
Right on. How's it going?
Calling from. Good, bro. Hey, first-time caller. Been a big fan for about, since 2018.
Right
My
on,
friends
man.
told me about you guys.
Early
I've been
days.
crushing your content. Yeah, I'm thankful that you guys had the last-minute opportunity for this. Basically, my story is about my experience at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with it?
I mean, I've heard it. I've never been. I'd love to go, so I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so before we even went to the museum, we're big fans of the paranormal content, so we started watching Nuke's Top 5. And Nuke's Top 5 for a while was showing a thing called the Dybbuk box. And a Dybbuk box is Jewish folklore where they steal an evil entity in a box, and they put wax around the edges to seal it shut.
Yeah.
And essentially, like you did your job. You caught the demon. So fast forward years later, we're in Vegas, drunk out of our minds, and we're like, hey, yo, there's a museum over here with haunted shit. Let's go check it out. And I was like, that's a great idea. Let's go. So we go, and we were lucky enough to find tickets because it's a packed house over there. And they have everything that you could think of for paranormal content. You got like haunted relics, you got dolls, you got clown rooms, you got tortured, items, whatnot. So I have two experiences in this museum. So the first one is in a non what would you say, paranormal room. It's basically a hallway. Now this hallway is like, I don't know, 20 feet down, walking across. And I'm one of the last persons in the tour, taking my time looking at the trinkets around me. And I know distinctly I passed by two chairs that were sealed off with a velvet rope that said you can't cross over because of security purposes. Now, these chairs were empty. I remember that distinctly. So I walk up a few feet ahead of it. I look at the glass cases, and I see inside like these trinkets. And for some reason, my intuition told me just look back. So I look back, and on one of the chairs, I see the most finest pairs of legs ever of a woman sitting on the chair. And in my head, I'm like, God damn, look at those legs. My God. I turn back to the group, and then for a split second, I'm like, wait a minute. No one's in those chairs to begin with. I turn back, those legs are gone. So then I'm running up to my friends like, guys, you're not going to believe this. I saw the most finest legs ever. And I point to the chair, and they're like, bro, what are you talking about? I was like, wait, just think about it. I saw some legs on this chair, and now they're not. You tell me what's up now. So they're just roasting me that, oh, you're drunk, you're horny, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, whatever, shrug it off. So we, about, let's say, like 3-4 rooms later, we go into the most haunted room at the time that was, like, showcased, and it turns out to be the Dybbuk box. And I looked to my friend, and I grabbed him by the shirt of the collar, and I was like, bro, we are going into the room that has the Dybbuk box that we saw from Nuke's Top 5. Can you fucking believe it? And I'm shaking him, and I'm pumped up, and he's pumped up, or we're all pumped up. And then you walk in, the room is empty, and in the middle of the room shines a light going down into a podium with a Dybbuk box. It's in a glass case with salt around it. And from paranormal research, it says that salt keeps the spirits away.
Or contained,
so you can,
as well as like another protecting. Yeah,
exactly, contained. So you can walk up to this box, like literally face to face, and as you see down below, you can see tiny scratch marks of, I guess you could say, like tiny claws trying to break the salt circle. Now, one person could be like, oh, that's just for show. Or another person could be like, yo, there's a spirit in this box that wants to get out. But you can clearly see, too, the wax hasn't been broken yet. So you're just, I guess for me and my friends, we're just admiring the fact that we're seeing a Dybbuk box that we thought we would never see, because it's like ancient folklore, and then lo and behold, here we are in Vegas.
Yeah, face to face.
And we exit the room, and so before we enter the room, we're pumped, we're hyping each other up. We exit the room, we're depressed. I feel empty and hollow, and I'm like, guys, did your buzz just go down? And they're like, yeah, it's gone. I'm like, I feel the same way now. I lost my happiness. I think that box took it from us, man.
What?
Once we leave this museum, we gotta find a way to get back that buzz. And then, sure enough, the museum was great. We had a great time. I recommend it for anyone in Vegas. If you have like an hour and a half to kill, it's worth the money, because you'll find so much haunted relics, if you believe in it. Or even so too, the museum is about 2 stories full of like trivia of like murder content. There's also the killer who helped facilitate anesthesia to their dying patients. Dr. Death, I think his name was.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
He administered
lethal doses.
They have their. There you go. They had the van in the museum, so it was kind of cool too to be like, wow, this van is actually real, and here we are looking at it.
And listen, I don't care like what people say of like, oh, it's a museum, it's in Vegas, but it's like, if like you're bringing in haunted relics and stuff to this area, like these objects, allegedly have some power or anything. You have them all now in one spot, and the people definitely get a feeling, because I've never been there. It'll be on my list for next time I go, but I've been to like forensic museums and like overseas that are like, dude, that have murder weapons and stuff, and basically pickled murderers that they've just preserved that you can stand face to face with that are dead. God, and like you walk in there, yeah, dude, it's messed up. And you walk into these places and you can just feel it in the air when you walk in. You're like, oh my, this does not feel like I should be
Bro,
here.
what museum is that?
That is that specific museum is called the Forensic Museum in Bangkok. It's listen, I'm going to tell everyone right now, I do not recommend going. It is horrifying. They just have murder weapons with blood still like displayed. Like they have, various, pickled babies and pickled people. Like it's wild, dude. It is wild. And, you go in there and you leave and you're just like, whoa, like, yeah. So when you say like that energy suck, I've experienced that. So it's like, something's drawing from these locations, whether it be just like, all that negativity, maybe. It's hard to say, but like you definitely, can get a feeling, especially if you're susceptible to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, not to say that I'm not a believer, but I do believe that there was energy lingering. But that experience itself made me realize, all right, you know what? There is more truth to these stories after all. Because I was always a person to be like, it'll never happen to me. I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, hey, yo, guys, I got a story now. What's up? But there is one little last detail from the museum that carried on the next week after at work. It's a quick thing, but like you said, energy does linger, and whatever I think I did attract the museum followed me back home. So when I was working at the time, I was a custodian for a high school, and they always tell you just to be aware of your surroundings because, kids, would try to like punk things around you or tell you to do X, Y, Z. You just got to be on alert all the time. Have your walkie-talkie on, and if you're listening to music, only have one earbud up. Okay, I can do that. And I'm pretty good with my surroundings. I know my area really well. So I'm working, cleaning the toilets after school. It's like around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this area should be technically empty. So I'm taking care of the bathrooms, and I hear footsteps, nothing like fast, crazy footsteps, but I hear someone approaching me. And I'm thinking like, all right, it's probably my boss going to come talk to me about whatever is today's activity. And then my peripheral vision is also really good too. So I distinctly remember seeing a silhouette of someone coming into my peripheral vision. And I'm like, all right, it's my boss. Let me turn to that area. And I turn, and I'm like, okay. I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the person? Like I'm sure they wanted my attention. So I go back again to my routine, cleaning. I hear footsteps. I see a silhouette. Turn around, like, yo, what the hell? Who's here? And this kept reoccurring for about 5 days after I left the museum. I would have these footsteps approaching me, and then I would see a silhouette of a shadow in my peripheral, and I'd be like, all right, who wants to talk to me? And again, they would just disappear.
And that fleeting glance, right, where you're like, it's like the prey instinct in us, right? We catch that. You really notice any kind of that horizontal movement, especially in your peripherals. That's so creepy. I wonder if it's like something that, maybe knew you were excited or something and was trying to draw you back.
He's like, hey, man, you fresh over these toilets? How about you come back to Vegas?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting if you think, because, if you put it like you and your buddy are there, you guys feel like this energy suck, right? Like, so maybe something did draw something from you and it used that to like, make some sort of lingering connection, right? Maybe. I don't know.
Man.
I'm just theorizing here. I don't know, but terrifying.
Hey, don't put that bad juju out here, all right, Braden?
Well, you're not there now. It's gone, so it's all good. Sebastian, thank you so much for calling, being the last caller, even though I said the last caller was going to be the last caller. But, sometimes you got to strike when the iron's hot, when people want to call in. So you didn't sound nervous at all. Thank you so much for calling in.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. And honestly, thank you for you guys as well as a team. Andrew, Dan, and Zell, for making this happen.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
No worries, man. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. You take it easy, bro.
Take care of yourself. Peace out.
Thank you.
A lot of freaky ghost stories at the end there. Now I'm going But that's all the time we got for Cosmic Channels this week. Thank you so much to everyone who supported the show. I saw, donations from Hillbilly and some others that it was just going too far. Alan, I think I saw. Thank you so much. I'm going to take this in the shareholders meeting. That's it for Cosmic Channels tonight. Cosmic Channels are now closed. Shareholders meeting. Oh, the lines are still popping off. I mean, I just had a caller. He's gonna line up next week. It's all good. Let's get down to some business. I went late, so I don't have a lot of time tonight, but that's okay. I think the lines tonight, man. Cosmic Channels. Who's calling now? Who's this?
Hey man, it's Mad Max from the Wasteland in Sydney.
Hey, I've officially ended I had to end the lines for tonight. I'm running late. So you got a story?
Cool, man.
It's got to be next week.
Next week.
Is that okay?
Cool, brother. See you then.
All right. Beauty.
See you, man.
Sorry to everyone who wants to. I just got so much. Everyone, I don't have a lot of time for shareholders meeting, so we'll get to it. Just looking at the numbers, I think we've hit the goal for our ad campaign. So I'm going to work on getting the podcast ad set up to start running maybe next week, maybe the week after. Last week was our most listened to episode. This week is probably going to beat last week, which is awesome. I looked into why Restream's doubling the comments, and I thought I sorted it out, and I don't know why it's still doing that. Just checking the comments here. I mean, the lines were absolutely fucking popping tonight, so hopefully with this ad campaign we will be getting a lot more. But the only thing is, once I spend this, the cosmic coffers are absolutely drained, but that's okay. It's going to be worth it. I did see a lot of people donating throughout the show. It's just I don't want to break up a caller. So if you listen to the podcast version, I go through and I make sure everyone who donated in. I think I saw Lane in there, Hillbilly. I was trying to make note. I do go back and I double check and I make sure to give you all a shout out at the beginning of the podcast version of the show. That being said, I saw in there, where was Sean Mullet? Yeah, 7 foot. So I think it's 8 foot. My parents' doors at my parents' house are really big. They're not normal size. So if 7 foot's the standard, then they're got to be bigger at 8. I don't know, but they're quite tall door. I'd have to ask my dad exactly. Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Chris from LA. The interesting thing about his call is I asked him, because I have hold music set and it's not working. So I'm gonna try to figure out why the hold music's not working. I didn't realize it wasn't. Sean Mullet, I saw, said something. I'm just trying to scroll through the chat so I didn't miss anything. Anyone think there's too much going on with the way Braden has the layout? Do we want bigger and the talking thing bigger too? Here's the thing. This style of layout is the only reason, the only executive. I don't care what happens on the left, and I don't care what happens on the right. I'm open for suggestions. But the middle section here, I'm going to maintain the same, and there's a specific reason for that. And if you look at the dimensions, you can probably guess why, because that right here is the perfect dimensions for Reels and TikToks. So it makes it really, really easy for me to edit social media posts. I can do it very, very efficiently, which is huge because I don't have a lot of time to cut these things up. So I need that. That's why it's done this way, is specifically for social media. So I'm down to change on the left. You know, we've left it as a black screen. You know, we can change that. Also, box is really dark. Oh, it's meant to be dark. The box is meant to be dark. You know what? And I kept forgetting to ask people to look at it. It's meant to be dark. Oh, the camera got shifted. I didn't notice that. It's meant to be dark though. I don't want it giving away too much. I don't want people thinking they know what kind of box it is, because that might give it away. Right? If you could read what that said, people might have. You guys just want hints. That's the problem, right? And if you were truly, you know, had ESPN, you would know what it is. So listen, those people complaining that they want to get a better look at it, that's because you don't have. You could look at it perfectly if you entered my mind and saw me putting it there. So yeah, next week we'll do that. Bandito, I'm gonna send you another story. I was actually gonna play yours today, but you know, we had Chris call in, and you know, it's always gonna be better if the person who wrote the story calls it in. And to be fair, I've been holding on to that story. That was in the messages. It was one of the oldest stories we had, and it's just getting around to reading it. We hadn't done it. So now is everyone enjoying the those fan read submissions being read by different people? Is that something you like? I think it's been fun. I've got a slew more and some surprises and stuff. Just wanted to make sure everyone likes that, and it's I try to edit them. It says is postal. Holding Braden's happiness for sure. I asked him about it. He said no. I asked that invalid. What did I say no? What did I say no to, Bandito? I have no idea. I have no idea what I said no to. But as for that, I'm gonna make some more merch, and it's just been a really busy week for me this week. Just had some courses I had to do, so I was out of town most of the week. So some of my homework for me this week is I'm going to reach out to Silver Lotus, who says, she has the ability to do stickers, because CrowdMade just does terrible stickers. And I'm going to try to get a couple more designs on there, because we have not had one person buy a Cosmic Channel sweater or t-shirt. No one has to, but I want to get some cool designs on there where people are more inclined to. But I don't know. But I might have to take this to Discord, just because we ran so late, and I didn't get home till just before the show, so I still haven't eaten. Have you considered the entire episode of just fan read, or plugging in one at the end of every episode? So that's a great question, Sean. So what I've done, and this is what I've been pitching. If you listen, I actually, when I edit the podcast version, I don't include the fan read submission anymore. So that's you only get to hear that live. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have on a week where I need a week off or something, as soon as I have enough prep that have been read on the show, I'm going to basically have just a show that's just the fan reads. Basically an entire hour of just fan read submissions by anyone who's read in. So that's been my plan. Secondly, if you haven't gone and checked out Cosmic Channels, the one that just released today, 7.9, go check it out, because I did a little more editing. What I could is I added a little context between the calls. So it's just basically me, maybe adding a thought or two that I had during the call that I didn't have a chance to talk about during the during the live, because if the lines are hot, I really only have like 50 seconds, I think, between calls, and I like to the calls are the bread and butter. So if I can stack as many calls as possible with me barely talking in between, that's ideal. I can add that after, but I just wanted to know, for those of you who listened, what do you guys think of that? And you know what, I just realized that I forgot to do something. So before someone craps on me, is like, oh, the ads aren't set up properly, and I don't think I did it on this one. But yeah, so just let me know. Go check out 7.9. Let me know. I'm gonna change the ads so they break at a good time. Maybe I did do that, I'm not sure. I'm gonna just double check it now. Anyways, I have to go and eat dinner. We ran a little late, but I think I want to do that because I need to start getting a bank of some cutting room floor calls, so I can put together some bonus stuff for when I need a week off. And soon, I'm going to have Dan or Andrew jump on as a guest host in the coming weeks. But listen, if you have any other suggestions, ideas, please shoot me a message on Discord in our little Cosmic Channels section of the ATT Discord. If you're not on that, you want to get on it, as little as a single donation on our patreon.com/alientheoristpodcast gets you access to that, and you can come and mix and mingle with the Cosmic Channelers as we try to push this show forward. We're almost at 1,000 followers on Instagram. It's huge. We were at 100, I think, a month ago, so slowly growing. But we'll discuss more on Discord, and I'll make sure to have a longer shareholders meeting next week. But thanks, everyone. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you on Discord. Peace.